Nah, not the whole thing. Just the clip.
But a mountaineer found a trove of rubies and emeralds, turned them in, and he waited around, but he's going to basically get about 150,000 euros for trading, for bringing those things in. Emeralds. What would you do with troves of gems and emeralds, Mike?
I'm glad you asked. Thank you. So I had a book of Aesop's fables growing up, and I don't know if this was officially one of Aesop's fables, but I think it was in the book, a story about a man, a woodsman, who accidentally dropped his axe in the river, and he cried because he needed that because that's his livelihood. And a river nymph or somebody comes out of the water and is like, "Hey, what's wrong?" And he's like, I lost my axe in the water." And she's like, "Well, let me go see if I can find it." And she comes back up with a golden axe. And she's like, "Is this it?" And he's like, "No, it was just a regular axe." And she goes back down and comes up with a silver axe. She's like, "Is this it?" And he's like, "No, what do you got, water in your ears?" It was a regular axe, just like wooden handle, metal, not precious. Then she goes back down, brings up the axe and says, "And now as a reward for your honesty, I'll give you the gold and silver axe in addition to your axe." And so then he goes back to his camp, and a buddy there is like, "Where'd you get those axes?" And the guy describes what happened. And then that guy runs to the river, throws his axe in, pretends to cry. The nymph comes out. And then when she brings up the golden axe, he's like, yeah, that's it exactly. And she's like, "Well, for lying, you get no axe." And I was like, "Dude, did you not even..." It's like the moral of the story is honesty is the best policy. But I was like, "Hey man, if you had just told her, you'd learn the story where you get 3 axes. You just have to wait." It's like the kids' marshmallow test. Just like, wait a minute and you'll have more marshmallows. And so you're sharing this story and you're like, what would you do? Would you keep the rubies and emeralds and gems that you actually don't know? Like, you can't spend those. Like, I'm going to go to the bodega, the corner store, and be like, "Do you take rubies? Can you break a ruby? Can you..." I mean, I know you can't break a diamond, but can you break an emerald? I don't even know which one's worth what. And so this story, they're like, would you rather get $170,000 for being honest or take a chance being a liar? I would. It's very easy for me to say after the fact, I would do what the honest guy who got paid a lot of money did.
I had no doubt, Mike. You know what I mean? I had no doubt, buddy.
Very easy for me to say.
Yes. Phillip, you're an honest guy too. I mean, look at that face. I mean, look like
clearly.
You look like a doctor.
Well, he likes the lawlessness of Florida, so maybe he likes the lawlessness.
Maybe he hung around somebody down here and got a little tainted.
Well, no, I mean, I think that the honesty coming from Mike, if he lives in New York City, is even higher because there's so many jewelers there that you could bring all this shit to and be like, "Hey, man, how about you and me keep a secret?" Whereas I had a great uncle who lived near Portland, and he was a geologist, and he would keep all the gems and little geodes with and rubies and all this shit that he would find. He had all this stuff as part of like a collection, and when he died, he willed it to my mom and my grandmother, and every once in a while we'd go into the closet and we'd look at it. And when we went to go get all this stuff, my sister, who's Down syndrome, would always call my grandmother Addie. We didn't know why. We just all started calling her Addie. Okay. And when we were going through all my uncle's stuff, we're looking through his gems. We uncover this box, and we see the original birth certificate of my great grandmother, whose middle name was Abby, Abby. And they had misspelled the handwritten name back in the late 1800s to be Addie, Addy. And they were like, "Oh my God, our Down syndrome daughter is psychic." And then for years, the perception that my Down syndrome sister was psychic always overshadowed these rubies and gems and shit. And so if I had a bunch of gems, I would just be looking at them and being like, "You know what, man? This is bullshit. My sister's not psychic. She's just tricking you guys for attention," because that was my perception as a kid all the time. And so I'd be like, "Get these things out of here." I probably would have just thrown them in the trash. So the problem is, and in hindsight, in this hypothetical scenario, I can look at my hypothetical actions and go, "You know what? Spite will never get you anywhere."